What's going on, everyone? I got Chris Chana here with me with ActivAge. What's going on, dude? It's good to see you and
What's
have you
going
back on the
on, my
channel.
man?
The last video, man, it got quite a bit of engagement. So I think people definitely want to know more about where you're at with everything with adult daycare. And yeah, tell me a little bit,
Well,
man. You've been a busy man. You've got a place. You signed your life away, right? How
dude,
how big was how big was the place that you got for
so
ActivAge?
we
Is it like the HQ,
yeah,
right?
so we ended up buying like a 16,000 square foot building,
Mm-hmm.
and that subdivided it up, and so we'll have four tenants in there. We'll have an 8,000 square foot adult day center, and that'll be kind of our flagship location. So that one will be completely like designed. We had an architect design the interior. I mean, it looks absolutely gorgeous. And then we'll have about a 3,000 square foot support center for our franchise like team. So they'll help us. That portion of it. They'll help run operations, the sales and marketing, and all that good stuff. So. Yeah, man, it's
Sweet,
exciting
man.
times, man. We sold our assisted living facility, went all in on adult day, I mean, like when I say all in, like I even just we sold our house, like we're supposed to close on that next week.
Whoa. So you're living at
Like
the
that's
place.
how
You're
all
living at your place, right? At your
nah,
at your
I
center.
I ain't doing that again. I
You
did that
got you
once
got
already.
you got an RV parked
I,
out front, huh?
yeah,
So
it was
you're
funny. We sold.
yeah, so you sold everything, huh? Like you're all in on this, dude. So
Yeah,
like
yeah, no, for sure.
what like you clearly have some intel. There's got to be a reason why you're doing all this, man. Tell us what you're seeing, what you're noticing. I mean, people can go to the channel, right? To your channel and
Yeah.
check out like because you put out really good content and like reasoning like little nuggets, man. And I love it because I think it definitely is foreshadowing where things are going and share a
Yeah,
little bit of kind of what you're seeing in the market. And yeah, I'll let you take it, dude.
for sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I first started in assisted living back in 2011, our rate was like 3,000 a month, right? When we sold our assisted living facility, our rate was 5,500 a month, and I was telling the new owner, and part of my plan was like over that next year we were going to raise rates to 6,500 per month. And
Yeah.
then like with everything that happened with COVID, and then here recently in Florida with the wage increases and all the inflationary pressure, I mean this year alone insurance was up 30%. In Florida we're having a mandate where we already had a mandated minimum wage of 15 bucks an hour that was coming into play by 2025, but the governor signed something new into law that basically said by October 1st of this year, like anyone that works in healthcare is 15 bucks an hour minimum wage,
Whoa.
like overnight. So we hadn't even taken into consideration like what we were going to charge families to kind of combat that, right? So
Yeah.
literally in the last 2 years, like we have a home care agency as well, and I think I may have told you guys about that, but so I'm kind of like I have an idea of like I have a pulse on home care, assisted living, adult day. But I mean, our home care agency, man, 2 years ago we were charging like $22 to $24 per hour. And
Yeah.
like just now we just, changed our rates again to 34 bucks an hour. So like literally in the course of 2 years, we're $12 more per hour, almost up 50%,
Oh my
and,
goodness.
and there's a good chance by like, another 8 months from now, we'll probably be at, 36 and 38, somewhere in that range. And
So
it's like,
pretty much
what?
by like 2025, I mean, what should have been what it is now is going to be triple,
Yeah.
right? Like it's going to
Oh,
be,
dude, like that,
it's,
like
and
I
that's
think
3 years from
you're
now.
yeah, I think by 2025 you're gonna call a home care agency. They're gonna be like, yeah, it's 50 bucks an hour,
Oh my
and it's like
God.
a
Yeah.
4 hour minimum. And you're like, damn, that's a lot of money. Like, that's like 200 bucks
Yeah.
for 4 hours. Like do that times 365 days a year. Um, so I think you're gonna see that problem, and then you also see assisted living. Like, I think assisted living, hasn't even caught up. Like most facilities, especially larger ones, they're facing like, they're looking at past quarters to make future like pricing decisions, but they're also combating new operators coming to the market offering discounts. So I feel like we haven't even seen the full realization of like, what is the new assisted living price is going to be. So I feel like by 2025, on average, you're going to call an assisted living facility and they're going to tell you that it's 6,000 to 7,000 a month. You're going to call a home care agency and they're going to tell you it's 40 to 50 bucks an hour. And I just don't think middle America is prepared to pay that kind of money for care.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm talking, when I say middle America, I'm talking about I'm talking about the middle America that they might have $1 million in liquidity sitting in stocks and bonds and whatever other retirement things. And they might have an income of 4,000 to 6,000 a month. But, if they both got to move into an assisted living facility and, 6,000 bucks per month each person, or even if there's a discounted rate, you're looking at 10, 12,000 a month. Like they could blow through that in no time.
Yeah.
Um, and
And what do
so,
you think
you know,
what do you think adult daycare will be charging? Let's say, like, what are you charging now versus where you see it being, in 2025, cost wise?
over the last 4 to 5 years, we've always been about the like half the cost of home care. So,
Okay.
like our home care agency, like we in adult daycare, like our company ActivAge charges an hourly rate, and our hourly rate right now is 17, where our
Okay.
home care agency is 34. So like we're always kind of like about half that cost of home care.
Hmm.
Our average person spends about 1,200 bucks a month with us, whereas and the most they could spend at the rates that we have right now, and that would get them about 58 hours of care per week. The most they're going to spend per month with us is probably going to be around like 3,200 a month.
Okay.
And so like and that's on the high, that would be like on the high end. That'd be like literally their loved one comes every day, all day, including
Yeah.
transportation. Like they're they're milking every ounce of it, right? But
Yeah.
most families just need a break. They just need a break for, you know, to accommodate their work schedule, or to accommodate handling like stuff with their kids, or maybe a spouse just needs to run to the store, just wants to go visit with friends, go play golf on a Friday morning. Like, so, ultimately at the end of the day, like, we're just kind of being this interim solution where, families might go get sticker shock with home care. They might get sticker shock with assisted living, and adult day just becomes an affordable option that they didn't even know existed, but then
Mhm.
ultimately has all these other benefits to it. And so I think, it's one of those things that service has just never had its day. Like it's for 40 years, it's just been this like alternative solution, but never really had its moment to shine. And I just feel like, unfortunately, due to like the economics of taking care of people, you can't just like I went to a Circle K the other day, and in the Circle
Yeah.
K, it was crazy. This is the new machine. You just throw all your stuff on the
Yeah.
little
I saw
counter.
that
Like,
on your
dude, and like
Instagram.
there's like
Yeah.
14 cameras, and it just takes pictures of all this stuff,
Oh my
right? And like,
gosh.
and so I didn't even have to scan anything. I was like, and it just pulled it up on like the little receipt thing. It just tells you, all right, it literally just like recognized whatever I put on the counter.
Yeah.
And I was like, so my point is like, that's a Circle K. And then we have Publix in Florida, that's our supermarket. And like the one across the street from our home, dude, they literally just put in 14 brand new, cashierless self-checkouts. And
Hmm.
so they only have two like lanes now with cashiers. So it's just like, those industries, McDonald's, Publix, supermarkets, retail, they can do that. They have the ability to do that. But Mrs. Smith, if she's got to use the restroom and she's got to transfer from her wheelchair to a toilet, or she needs help getting dressed in the morning, we don't have a robot today that I know of that can actually perform all those tasks and help someone that is like, has dementia, that is unpredictable. And we just that technology doesn't exist to the point that we can just automate care.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, to your point, I think you're going to solve the solution of convenience, right? It's going to be convenient to go drop mom and dad off, or
Yeah.
whoever,
Or
for a
or
couple
or we pick them
hours,
up.
or you
Or we
pick
pick
them
them
up. Yeah.
up.
You say,
Yeah.
see, and
Like
like solving, like, that's why Amazon's so massive. That's why you were just talking about
exactly.
Circle K. It's convenience, right? It's cutting down
Yep.
time that ultimately is valuable to you, instead of standing in line waiting for people to get checked
100%.
out, right? So it's like,
What
you know,
I told like our team, I said, look, transportation's a pain, but it's like essential. Like even
mhm.
though transportation has, it's a pain point for us. I told them we'll never have the excuse that it's such a pain that we don't pay attention to it. Because to me, I think 5, 10 years from now, the transportation element of what we do will be the most important thing, because I think 80% of our folks will use transportation because
And another thing to keep in mind is, like, transportation at some point, that self-driving technology will eventually
yeah,
be so good that you're not going to have to worry about having to have drivers, et cetera, right? Like, that is the way the world is going. I was just talking about this with
yeah,
my business partner the other day. We're like, his
Yeah.
wife works for this huge hedge fund, and they're like heavily invested in the whole self-driving technology automation. And that's what they're like projecting that the next, probably
Yeah.
within the 10-15 year range, is going to happen with self-driving and
100%.
automation. Now, you can either like it or don't like it. I personally don't want that to like be the case, because I think it kind of takes people's purpose out of life when you like you don't have that face-to-face interaction with actual human beings, and you're just like going through life checking things out, or just hopping in a car being driven wherever. But there is a place for it, right? And I think with you guys eventually, or any healthcare that provides transportation, that's going to be huge. So yeah, man,
Yeah.
I
But,
definitely, and it's like a
but,
funnel,
but,
right? For you guys too, right? Like it's a way to like you saying, when a family comes and you guys are going through the checklist of what you guys have to offer, it's like, hey, we can come pick up mom or dad or grandma and
yeah.
grandpa.
Well,
It's
yeah,
like, yeah,
exactly.
it's going to be a
It's just,
pain and it might be an extra cost, but it's worth it,
well,
right?
100%. Well, it just takes the extra, like, for anyone that has kids that are in school, the pain of dropping your child off, it's I mean, the only reason why, as long as you reframe your mind, it's not a pain, right? Like, but you got to reframe your mind. Like what I had to do is I had to reframe my mind. Like, okay, look, this is an opportunity for me to spend quality time with my daughter. So don't
Yeah.
look at it as like, an inconvenience. But like at first, it felt that way. So at first, I was like, because I was trying to get to work at a certain time. So I had to just adjust my entire schedule and the way I looked at things, for me to like kind of get over this like mental roadblock. But at first, it was this massive like 45-minute ordeal.
Yeah.
Getting her ready, getting her, out the door. Then we're going in line. Then we're waiting in line, and it's like, and then you finally, like, she gets to the drop off and then she gets out, and then you got to go pick her up in the afternoon. You got to wait in that line, and it's like it's a madhouse. Everyone's, it's just like it's a lot of work,
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
so I remember thinking, I'm like, man, like, can you imagine being a family member and you got to do that for your kids, but also your mom or your dad,
Who
and
might
like,
be in a wheelchair or can't
right,
walk nearly as
yeah.
good, or yeah.
Exactly. So you're like, Mom, come on, Mom. So if we could take and relieve them of that burden, and so they could
Yeah.
spend the time with their kids, but then, we could take care of and handle and take the burden of like taking care of their loved one and picking them up and just making that convenient. I think that's just a game changer. It'll make adult day more accessible to more people. And then
Mhm.
families will use it more frequently because it'll be easier for them to utilize, but it'll be something where they know their loved one is having a great time during the day, but it's also it makes life easier for them as a caregiver.
Yeah. Dude, I don't know if I asked you this in the last video that we did together, but how did you come across adult daycare? Did I ask you this? I don't know if
I
I
mean,
did or
I don't
not.
remember.
Like what even sparked your interest in this?
Dude, like, so it's so crazy, right? So like, there had been centers that had opened and they had tried to open and close like in our area, but it was never a big thing. It was literally just 1 week. I got a phone call from 3 different families that asked if we could provide daytime care for their loved one in our assisted living facility. And
Interesting.
like,
Yeah, see, I don't think I asked you because I didn't
like,
know that.
yeah, so for like, here I am, we have our assisted living facility. We're trying to expand that. We put in an offer on another place. We're trying to figure out how to grow the assisted living thing. And like, here I am 6 years into it. And I get this phone call, like, like it was like a phone call on a Monday, one on Wednesday, one on Thursday. And it was like all 3 different families, all asking if we provided like adult daycare in our assisted living. And I was just like, I'm, like at the moment I had to be like, well, I don't know. Am I allowed? Like, I know I'm allowed to.
Can
And
I do
actually, we
that?
don't need
Yeah.
another license. I was like, I know in Florida we are allowed to do that. I was like, I guess I can do that. But then I was like, I don't want to do that because then it's like, this is my resident's home. Like, this is their home environment. I don't want to. I want to bring a stranger to their home,
Mhm.
like, so like, even though it was like a potential revenue opportunity, I was just like, like, it just kind of feels weird because Bob's gonna come in and we got a nice little culture here and and one's Bob and Jack, they don't get along, and then now
Or they
Bob
do
pisses
get
everyone
along
off.
and they say, well,
Or,
where's Bob? He hasn't been here in forever, right? Did he
right, yeah,
die?
exactly. It could go that way too, so it's like one of those things where I just but that was like the first time I ever had even considered it. And then we went and after that I was like, let me go like learn more about that field. So we went to like I went and probably toured 6 to 8 different ones. Went to Tallahassee, went to Clearwater, went to Tampa, went to one down in Fort Myers. And most of them that I had seen were all Medicaid funded. So when I walked in,
Yeah.
it was like, to me, it was depressing. I was like, I mean, I was like, it was sad because everyone was just sitting in a chair around a wall, you know, and it was just like, and everyone was just
It
like
might
kind
as
of
well have been in
sleeping.
assisted living.
Yeah, like it was just like, and I remember being like, well, that's not like. Then I was kind of discouraged. I was like, I don't want to do this. You know, this is what this is about. You know, but I think I'd always like, I always enjoyed the activity portion of our assisted living facility the most. I remember like out of all the things that we did really well, like that was the one thing that like was most important to me. No matter what, I didn't care if the kitchen was still dirty. I wanted the girls to like do activities with our residents every day. You know, um, so like for me activities was always a big thing. But then when I went and I saw a place up in Clearwater, and this lady had, and it was more of a private pay environment, and you know she had previous senior care experience, and she created this like quaint little place in a shopping plaza she had leased. And I was like, yeah, see, this is more like what I'm thinking, you know. And that was really what sparked my like, okay, that's what we're gonna do. And it was like basically we created like an extension of what we had done in our assisted living facility with this like kind of coastal theme. And we found a place in town that was like centrally located that I knew would be easily accessible for families, whether they were coming from the north, south, east, or west. And we found this place for sale, and we purchased it and converted this like 4,000 square foot space into a little adult day center. And then
Yeah.
that was our first go at it. The only thing I remember like when we were opening was like most of all the other ones that had ever started all failed. So I was like, in my head, I was like, crap, like, is this like, maybe do people not need this service? So I know
Yeah.
like at the
What
time
was the
we had made this.
reasoning? What was the reasoning
So
on a lot of these places closed?
I think what one thing I've learned over the years, and you may see this in like the assisted living world too, is and a lot of times we may not see it on a grander scale, but it seems like a lot of times people like mom and pop operators that have never run a business before,
Hmm.
and they don't really know like what they're getting themselves into, and so they get a space and they go through construction and they didn't even realize like the construction process and permitting and delays and all that stuff happens. And then they go and they got to go through licensing. And I feel like a lot of times people just like they run out of funds, or by the time they actually open, they don't have enough working capital to like, go out and advertise and market and
Yeah.
hire a team. And a lot of times these people may not even have the experience of like, how to run, or lead a team of people, so they don't even know
Yeah.
how to like get themselves out of the place or go hire a marketer, or they don't have strength in sales and marketing. So I think it's a combination of all those things. But with adult days, especially, like the number one problem adult day faces probably for the next 5 years is going to be a lack of awareness. Everyone knows that there's probably a place you can bring your mom or dad or your husband or wife to at some point in time. And there's
Yeah.
a company you can probably call that can send someone to your house at some point in time. But no one really has thought of, like, it doesn't come to mind as easily, like, oh, there's a place I can bring my loved one for the day, like
And
that,
and what's kind of your, because I know you, man. I know you're always thinking, 5 steps ahead. So what are you looking to do to bring more awareness? Like, how are you attacking that problem?
Yeah, so I think most recently what we decided to do is, because at the end of the day, like I think part of, like part of the strategy for this is it's twofold. Like if you think about Bitcoin or electric vehicles, or if you just go back 10 years and you think about half the world never thought electric vehicles was going to be a thing, or self-driving cars were going to be a thing, and then you also had like people like that thought Bitcoin was not going to be a thing as well, right? And
Yeah.
then you have people that had never heard of Bitcoin. But then you fast forward 10 years from now, like everyone knows electric vehicles are the future. Everyone knows there's going to be self-driving cars at some point. Everyone knows that Bitcoin like exists and what it is. They may not use it or have a wallet or know how to operate it, but like if you
Yeah.
say Bitcoin to someone, almost everyone that you talk to is going to know what it is today. So I think if you look at that, it's really a grassroots effort where
Mhm.
it's shaking hands, talking to people, like, educating them on what adult day centers are, having this conversation I'm having with you, putting
Yeah.
out the content on YouTube, continuing to just beat the drum that like adult day is the future until someone's like, well, why is adult day the future? And
Yeah.
then we can have a conversation about it. Um, but like, I just think it's going to be a grassroots effort for the next 5 years. At some point in time, I think you'll have more and more people that are faced with a financial, this is where I feel like this is the kind of step two, is more and more people are going to be faced with this financial burden of care. And when they go to face and confront oh my gosh, care is expensive. What do I do? I think that's when they're going to search for an alternative. And that's when people will come across adult day more frequently. But I think that's going to take time. So in the meantime, it's it's just it's helping to educate the neurologists. It's helping to educate the discharge planners and the social workers. And we picked basically three places: Medicare home health companies, where they're sending someone into the house. Skilled nursing facilities, where we have the rehab and the we're talking to discharge planners, social workers. And then the what was the other one? The neurologists, cardiologists, gerontologists, people in that space. And because we know that they're seeing the highest frequency of individuals that could benefit from our services. So by us just kind of continuing to focus on those three verticals, it's going to allow us to educate more and more people that are the ones that are actually working with potential people that need our services. I mean,
and what kind of feedback are you seeing from these discharge planners? And is there feedback oh my goodness, yes, I've heard of adult daycare, whatever? Or are you saying, oh, thanks for bringing this to me, it's really interesting what you're doing? What are you noticing? Are you seeing both?
It's mixed.
More
it's mixed. You get the discharge planner, it's so how many beds do you guys have? We don't have any beds. It's not overnight. It's just a daytime thing, So I'm saying you're still educating
the
people
lack
on the
of
fact
education.
Yeah. So it's I still got I can't tell you how many times I still have to do that comparison to childcare. No, this is not assisted living. This is not, you don't come here overnight. There are no beds. It's kind of it's like how you have child day centers for your kids. This is like that, but for seniors that need families that need a break. And then you start kind of creating some illustrations and comparisons to that, and then I feel like it clicks for them eventually. What I will say is family members who've utilized our services and then are in contact with that neurologist, and then are in contact with maybe that discharge planner, that case manager, the social worker that might be involved, or that therapist that's coming to the house.
Yeah.
Those people, when they experience our services and then they tell them how amazing it is, now they become raving fans and they believe in it. And then now
awesome.
we have two neurologists in town that I can almost count every single month they send us probably 3 to 5 referrals.
That is amazing.
And so but it's because they believe in it now, because their own patients are all using it and their patients are having a lot of success.
Just like anything else, right? You try out a product, or you go do, check out a restaurant or a service, and you're like, oh yeah, that's amazing.
But here's the hard part with this, this world of senior care, right? Because unlike the restaurant, when the restaurant opens, you can go check it. Anyone can go check it out because we all have to eat.
Yeah.
But we're not all at the same stage in our life where we're taking care of someone. So it's you're trying to find a needle in a haystack where you might have all of these family caregivers out there, but the burden hasn't hit yet where the family that needs help. Because what happens is all right, mom's fine. She's living with us. She's watching the kids while I'm at work, But then all of a sudden mom can't watch the kids while I'm at work anymore because we found out that mom gave, my younger son something that he shouldn't have had. And that could be dangerous. And we're like, okay, well, maybe mom shouldn't be watching the kids. So all of a sudden the dynamic changes. Now we're so I think when that shifts now, that's a prime person that could potentially use our services. We just gotta find them.
And your target audience is probably individuals in their 40s and 50s, right? People with established careers and people who what is your target audience usually, right? Because that's who you're targeting. You're not targeting seniors, right? You're targeting their families.
100%. It's 50-50 though. So it's 50% the adult child taking care of mom and dad, and then it's another 50% of the folks that are taking care of a spouse. So half our all of our full timers are adult children taking care of their parents. They come 6 days a week. A lot of our part timers are it's a spouse, taking care of their loved one. They might work part time. They might have a hobby. They might just need a break or run errands or clean the house or whatever. And they use us 2 or 3 days a week. So it's an interesting dynamic where we are really servicing both both people. But what's so crazy, there was a stat I pulled the other day, and when it comes to, think about this, the number of people that are working longer in their later years. Like, so, not everyone's retiring anymore at 65. So I think
That's
you're going to
true.
see like more and more people that are like, they're 70 and 80 and they're still working at some part-time job to try to like
Yeah.
make the ends meet, or maybe they're a consultant, or maybe they do something. And like,
Yeah.
I have a friend like right now, like when I met this guy, him and his wife were probably in their like 50s or in like their 60s, and now they're in their 70s. He sells insurance, right? And so he's got a flexible job, but he still needs like periods of time throughout the week that he can go do focus work and not have to worry about his wife. And like 10, 11 years ago, he was my first friend in town. And our first double date I ever went on with my wife was with this couple. And like here today, they're in their 70s, and we're taking care of his wife now in our adult day center, like, 1 or 2 days a week when he needs, that focus time to focus on some of the stuff that he does, because he still works.
Yeah.
So I think like, it's like you're going to see a lot of that kind of stuff start to appear more and more, where, families are still trying to make it work, that they're not ready to place their loved one in a place yet, whether it's financially or whether it's just because they don't, their loved
Mentally,
one
they're not there.
made them
Yeah.
promise. Yeah. So
Dang, man. Like and this is why I wanted to have this conversation, because I think more and more people are probably like, okay, yeah, assisted living, that's all great, but this niche of adult daycare, right?
yeah,
To your point, is not too many people are focused on like really trying to see what the future is, right? Because they're not looking into the time, they're not looking into certain statistics of what's happening. We are, because we're in this industry. And
right.
to me, I've even noticed, right, certain declines and certain kind of shifts and patterns within the senior living community and what's happening, right? And I
Yeah,
think we're living in a world where so many things are changing constantly,
dude,
especially when it
like,
comes to especially senior care. There's things
yeah.
constantly changing, and the pandemic
Well,
ultimately
like,
has
like
has has really expedited everything,
100%. And I think like, what's crazy is you have some services in senior care, like reimbursements going down, some services getting more reimbursement. I mean, you got this past year, 400 skilled nursing facilities closed, 400.
That's
Like,
wild.
but we're going into a time where we should probably need more skilled nursing facilities than ever before. But right,
Yep.
but like regulations on skilled nursing has gone up, funding's gone down, so they can't stay in business. So they're closing up, they're consolidating.
Yeah.
You're seeing these insurance like there's just, I feel like there's so many problems with the care, like as you become older, and you need to utilize these services that are out there, that like my concern is the problems are never going to be fixed to meet the future demands of the care that's needed. And so I
Yep.
truly believe that, people are going to get frustrated, they're going to give up, and they're going to have to bring mom into their own world and take care of their loved one for the first time, like because of the fact that there's just a lack of options for them. Like
Yeah.
the options that they thought would exist for their mom, or the options that maybe they were relying on, all of a sudden, like, I mean, even home care. There's no way that our home care agencies across the country are going to be able to meet the future needs of all of the baby boomers that are going to need care.
Yeah.
Like we already have a staffing shortage, but what happens when you double the demand and you still have like, and then you have like half the workers that were in the industry are no longer in the industry.
Or like the actual providers, right? Like half the
But that's what I'm
providers
trying to
gone
say.
too.
But so some of the providers are gone, and then the people that actually do the
Staff.
caring,
Yep.
like, they're gone. They're not in the industry anymore. And then, but you have the actual need for care is going to double. So I think
Yeah.
it's going to force America into this like family caregiver world that like we've never really been in before, because we were able to expand as we got older and use services like skilled nursing facilities for a period of time, and then use services like assisted living as like those started to grow up in the 80s and 90s, and then use services like home care as that blew up in the 2000s, and technology made companies like home care a lot easier.
Yeah.
But then all that stuff like was kind of those solutions for those periods of time, but then suddenly you have this COVID event, and it causes all this like inflationary pressure in ways that these industries just haven't been able to like get under control yet.
Yeah. Well, dude,
Just
thank you
because,
so much. Yeah, like, dude, I wanted to, because I know our time is like short too, because
yeah,
I had to head out in a little bit.
yeah.
But dude, I tell me like what you want people to know and kind of where you're at now with ActivAge and kind of what you're doing now, because you're telling me earlier, it's your franchisees, you guys like tell me a little bit more about that because I want people to know if they're because clearly people are gonna understand the need, right? And they're
Yeah.
gonna be like, this is awesome. Like, let me know more about it. So like tell me a little bit about ActivAge and where you guys are at with that and how people can continue to, find out more
Also,
information.
for sure. Yeah. My goal is to open up 500, ActivAge locations across the country. Through the power of franchising. Right now, we have about 41 applicants, about like 6 people that are kind of entering the discovery stage. Our goal is to award 5 franchisees this year, 10 next year.
Okay.
But ultimately, like our vision is to create a network of like 500 plus adult day centers across the country to meet the future needs of Middle America and help reduce that caregiver burden that these families are going to face. So, we really think that adult day is the future, and it gives the senior themselves purpose and meaning and gives them their life back, but it also gives their families this break that they desperately need. And
Yeah.
so I'm just a huge believer in it, and I'm gonna keep preaching this for the next 20 years. So
Well, how can people get in touch with you or like, ask more questions like through the
sure.
website, right? You got what do
Yeah,
you
I mean,
have? You have
yeah, my
active is it activagepro.com?
so yeah, we
What's
have ActivageCare.com is like our ActivAge brand, and then we have
okay.
ADCPro.com, which is kind of
ADC
just
Pro.
like
Gotcha.
yeah, ADC Pro is a super easy place to just go visit and kind of get introduced to the world of adult day. So ADCPro.com, and we do webinars. We got a Facebook group, a lot of tons of information that we give out for free. And so it's like it's at the end of the day, like people that want to join our brand and join our vision and be a part of our mission, like they can. But we still
Sweet.
try to help out the adult day community as a whole. So
I love it. Well, yeah, guys, make sure to check him out and check out his channel. It's just Chris Chana, right?
yep,
That
yeah,
it's
it's
your
just
yeah.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
because
activage.com.
it's changed so much over the years. So like
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
like I was like, all right, I'm gonna just put it under my name because it seems like it changes every handful of years. So yeah, just Chris Chana because that's you
And
get to
Chris with
follow
the
the whole
K,
journey.
Chris with the K, because he's
Yeah,
got his name tag on. So like it's
yeah,
with the K,
yeah,
not
yeah,
with CH. So when you guys are definitely checking
yeah.
him out and go support him. Like go subscribe, check out his channel. He puts great content out. Like I genuinely, this guy is one of the coolest dudes. Like you got so much personality and
I, well,
your video. Like I'm
I
more of
appreciate
like
this,
sit
Age.
down at a desk and just kind of like whatever, give information. But like you really put some awesome personality to your videos. Like one day you'll be vlogging, right? Or you'll be with the whiteboard.
We're trying.
So
Yeah,
I love
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Like, make sure to support him. What books are you reading right now? Because I don't know if these ones were back there last time or not, but what are you reading right now?
Yes.
I don't know if it's
So
any of
right now
those, but
it's good to great. We're doing a book club with our team. So every quarter
okay.
we're reading a new book. So the one we're on right now is good to great. We're in the process. We just started EOS and we're implementing EOS, which I don't know if you ever read the book Traction by
I
Junior
don't believe
Wickman.
so. No, I haven't read that one yet.
So it's like it's EOS is the entrepreneur operating system. So it's
Okay.
like it's basically like how you run your meetings, how do you run the behind the scenes of a company, like all the business side of it, sales and marketing, operations, finance. How does all that stuff run? How do you create quarterly goals, annual goals, and then how do you actually run your meetings to hit those and those goals.
Yeah.
Anyways, so we started implementing that, but as part of that, like one of the things that we wanted to do with our team was have a quarterly book club, where we could always work on personal development and always work on, becoming better as an organization. So,
Awesome, dude. Well, I love that.
yeah.
So what book would you recommend other than Good to Great? What other one is one of your tops right now? Or I would say top one overall.
Oh man, top one overall. Gosh, that's a tough one. Like, because some people are gonna hate this guy, but I love this guy.
Grant
Um,
Cardone, huh?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
The
Well, just
10X
because
rule.
like
Let's go,
like
baby.
the 10X rule, and it was that book that like when, because I never thought about like trying to get to 500 locations, right? So, but
Yeah.
when you read something like the 10X rule, it really kind of expands like your mind to the idea that like you really can accomplish anything that you want to, but you got to just put a target out there that's big enough that then you can start like reverse engineering what is it going to take to hit that goal. But I would say there's two other ones too. 100 million, $100 million offers by Alex Hormozy. Dude, that guy
Yep.
by far, dude, just the knowledge he has is just like the way he just thinks about things is unbelievable. Man, I love that guy. And then my number one mentor of all time is Patrick Bet-David.
That's an
So
us.
I
Yeah.
follow, yeah, I
That's
follow him religiously, and his book, Your Next Five Moves, great book. But if there's anyone that I always listen to, it's him. Grant,
sweet.
I kind of check in here and there, but he's not my go-to. But if
Right.
I'm feeling a little sluggish and I need someone to hype me up, I go to Grant.
Well, sweet, Chris. Thank you so much, dude. I
Yeah,
appreciate you coming on. And yeah, go check him out, guys. And I appreciate you coming onto the channel, dude.
dude, appreciate you, man. Thank you for
Yep.
having me.